Thank you all very much for coming. If you hear that sound, it means another online participant is trying to get access to the matrix. So then I have to pause the presentation a bit. Right, thank you all for coming. It's a relative big turnout. Sometimes there are only 3 or 4 people that ultimately show up. Now there are more. There were 65 people that RSVP'd. And at least we've made about 10% of that. And the rest, well, let's say the rest of them have chose the blue pill for today. So what I will do is what I usually do during these reading group sessions, is that I will first give a presentation about the philosophy book that we are reading, or in this case, the movie with philosophical themes that we have watched. And I try to convey some philosophical context and ideas so that you have a broader idea of what is going on in this movie. So what philosophical themes and questions are addressed there, which you might be able to imagine yourselves, but nonetheless, I will try to make some connections between the Matrix and ancient as well as contemporary philosophy, for which this movie is both relevant. So yeah, welcome to my company Filosofisch Bureau voor Inzichtsvergaring, or in other words, abbreviated the FBI. This is the book I recommended to read. It's a bundle of essays where people discuss different philosophical themes from different philosophical schools and disciplines that you can see in the Matrix. So I'd say welcome to the desert of philosophy. Previous attendants might remember that we've also treated the book Calling Bullshit, and note that on their website you see Plato and Aristotle. And it's written by 2 data scientists who also believe that philosophy can be a powerful tool to detect bullshit. But for those that haven't been to this meeting, they might have, they don't know about it, and for the rest it might be just a splinter in their brain. Right, so the program is as follows. In part 1, we will discuss how do we know what is real. And philosophers call that type of question an epistemological question. Epistemology is about theory of knowledge. What counts as knowledge? What isn't knowledge? How do you know when you have knowledge? How do you distinguish true from false knowledge? And so on. In part 2, we will discuss free will. Do we have free will? Or are we determined since the Big Bang? And that thought in philosophy is called determinism. We are determined before we are even born. We will discuss identity, knowing oneself, to quote the movie, religion, and the meaning of existence. Part 3, we will cover political philosophy and philosophical anthropology. The latter meaning, what is a human being? What is humankind? How do you define humankind? And part 4, the final part, is the Matrix still a mirror to our society? And what can we say about the latest Matrix movie? Meaning I will only discuss the first installment and the last installment of the movie. And in part 4, we will discuss Matrix Resurrections shortly. And the question if the Matrix is still relevant to us today. Right, so what is philosophy? According to Plato, wonder is the feeling of the philosopher, and philosophy begins in wonder. Yeah, you look around and so all of a sudden you're wondering, oh my god, why is this all here? Or a kid that I was philosophizing with in 8th grade saying, teacher, sometimes I wonder, how come that we exist, we just exist? That is philosophical wonder. And wonder is also in philosophy when we question what is taken for granted or assumed to be true. So here we have Plato in Wonderland, and try to remember this, this will be relevant later. Philosophy, according to Socrates, also begins with knowing oneself. As you also see in the Matrix, here it is in Latin instead of in ancient Greek. Know thyself. And this question, do I know myself, will result in a from thinking of oneself as ignorant, and then start philosophizing in the attempt to escape from this ignorance. Hello, Hamid. Namit?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm actually outside the building. How do I get in? Sorry.
You're outside, yeah, someone that's here is coming downstairs. So I'll see you in a bit.
Or is it just online?
No, it's offline. Somebody is coming to come get you right now.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah? Right, postulate from thinking of oneself as ignorant. But then we still do not know what philosophy is, and what we shall also see during this meetup, and this is also how I try to always organize this meetup. There's a difference between knowing philosophy and doing philosophy. So in the first part in the presentation, I will tell you something about philosophy and different philosophical themes, but we together will also philosophize about philosophical questions. So what philosophy is of course the question that has brought you here. It is the question that drives you, namely, what is philosophy? Now, before we start, maybe you think you are mistakenly here or think it's going to be very boring, and in that case you can take the blue pill, the story ends, you leave the reading group, go home and think however you want to think. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I will show you how deep philosophy goes. So at last, as you no doubt might have guessed, and let's get into some atmospherical attire. As you no doubt have guessed, I'm a philosopher. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you want to know about philosophy. Do you want to know what philosophy is? Philosophy is all around us, especially in this very room. You can notice it when people argue, or when people try to sell you some information or opinion. You can feel it when you wonder why you go to work, when you think how about to spend your free time, when you wonder why you have to pay for things, when you have an argument, or sense that someone is wrong. You notice it when you wonder what the right thing to do is, what happiness and a meaningful life is. It is a world of thinking that helps you find the truth. But what truth? Now, unfortunately, no one can be told what philosophy is. You have to see it for yourself. And for that we need words, lots of words. And hopefully, if you've seen the second Matrix movie, hopefully you will not get aggravated by all these difficult and long words, but prepare for some theoretical mumbo-jumbo. And prepared to be mind blown, like Neo is here when he sees Morpheus jump off the roof. Right, so the philosophical themes, disciplines, and questions that you see in the Matrix are a lot. Namely, what is reality? What is the status of real things and unreal things? If there's a distinction between the world that is out there, between reality and unreal things, then what is it that distinguishes these two? What is their, philosophers would say, their ontological status? And ontology in philosophy is the study about the nature of things. For instance, do we live in a materialist world? Meaning not like we are living in a material world, but that outside everything that we can touch, see, feel, only that is part of reality. Meaning that if we have a mind, then the mind is only the result of a piece of material, namely our brain. So those are ontological questions. How to categorize and classify what qualities the real and the unreal have. What are the qualities of this couch that I can touch, and what is the quality of my mind which I cannot touch? Oh, what will you know? And what is the, like I already said, what is the distinction between appearance and reality? What is the distinction between the matrix and the real world outside of it? And what can we say about the experiences within the matrix and outside the matrix? Are all experiences in the matrix fake because it is a fake world? Or do the experiences still matter somehow? For instance, in one discussion I overheard, what if you learn something in the matrix? You learn something through a fake reality, and let's say you can then take those skills into the real world. Was the learning experience then fake? And so on. When can we say we know something? Does a feeling already count? Or do we also need evidence? Do we need to be justified in a certain way in our belief? And can we know that we are mistaken? So if you're inside the matrix and you've never been outside the matrix, can you then already know that you are mistaken? The film suggests such a thing when Morpheus says to Neo that you feel that something is wrong with the world. But how does Neo come to this knowledge within the matrix? One can ask. Something that also the movie does not explain. How does he know that something is wrong with this world? What feeling does he have that makes him think that? But there's also ethics, and a connection between theory of knowledge and ethics in the matrix. Namely, the question, is the truth worth knowing? Does it depend on the kind of truth that that is? And we see in the movie that the answer of Cypher, who betrays the entire crew, says ultimately that the truth is not worth knowing. What matters more is having nice experiences, even though they are fake. Can and should we know ourselves? Is it good to free your mind from ignorance, or is ignorance bliss, like Cypher says? What can I know? What should I do? Once taken from the matrix, should I join the resistance? Can they expect me to join the resistance? Or should I then freely choose myself what I want to do after that? What is mind? Is mind just a product of our brains, or is it another substance altogether? Do we have free will? Is it good to have free will? Do we have a duty once free to free others? And should we educate ourselves and others? And that brings us to part one. How do we know what is real? Morpheus says that he's offering the truth to Neo. But the question is, do you want the truth? If the truth is something really horrible, isn't it then rational or understandable that you do not want to know that truth? And of course, epistemology in the matrix, you see in the fact that it conveys the horror of a false world made of nothing but perceptions. Because within the matrix, people only get perceptions that are artificially induced by intelligent machines. Based on the premise that reality is a dream controlled by malevolent forces, which is also something you see with the philosopher René Descartes. The premise that there is a true reality and a world of mere appearance is as old as Plato's allegory of the cave, which we will delve into shortly. Where prisoners are stuck in a cave their whole lives and see nothing but shadows on the wall, which they confuse for the true reality. The protagonist of the cave, like Neo, escapes it and finds there is a world outside of the cave. And Plato insists that those who free themselves and come to perceive reality have a duty to return and teach others. I don't know if Plato is correct. And this holds true in the Matrix film as well, as Neo takes it upon himself to save humanity from widespread ignorance and acceptance of a false reality. But what is true reality, and can we really know it? And this brings me to say something about thought experiments that you see in the Matrix, or that are alluded to. Here you see a drawing of Plato's cave. And Plato asks us in his book, The Republic, imagine prisoners born inside of a prison, and those prisoners for their entire lives are tied with chains to a wall. And all they see in front of them are shadows coming from figures that are being held in front of a fire that emits light. Then of course these people in the cave will think this is the true reality. There's nothing else. So they will talk about the shadows and what it means to know how a shadow is, how it behaves, etc. At some point, however, one prisoner escapes. And slowly he climbs up and up. Ooh, cliffhanger, what will happen now? Hello. As the prisoner escapes the cave, he's first blinded by the light of the sun. And then when his eyes adjust, he looks around, or she, why does it have to be a he, and comes to realize the truth. That he or she has been living in captivity and has been induced to believe in the existence of a false world, which is then mistaken as true reality. Then the prisoner goes back in the cave to tell the other prisoners of what she has seen. But the prisoner, but what will happen? The question is. Well, in Plato's story, the result is not that optimistic, because the prisoners, they cannot really comprehend what this person is saying, but they also say that it is a madman, is lying. They do not believe him. And they say they want to stay in the cave and not be exposed to an outside world. They don't even believe there is one. So yeah, this is my amateuristic drawing of Plato's cave in the Matrix. So of course, in the Matrix, the shadows are that which the code makes the reality people see through the code of the Matrix. And here it is not the prisoner himself that frees himself, but it is in this case someone else that awakens him from the dream world. So yeah, this is another amateurically made meme. So Neo comes to realize that he's been living in a dream world. Also with Neo leading to shock. Another thought experiment that you see in the Matrix, which is much older than the movie, I think 19 years older. This is a thought experiment from the philosopher Hilary Putnam, and he said, suppose we are brains in a vat. So, you know, your brain is surgically removed and it's put into a tank full of water, and electrodes are put on your brain, and then the scientists are writing a program that makes you think you are experiencing all kinds of things, but at the same time you're just a brain in a vat. And can we know that we are not a brain in a vat right now? Can we know that we are in the Matrix right now? Can we truly know if we're living in a computer system right now, or in a very large intelligent machine? Philosophers like Nick Bostrom and others are entertaining ideas like this. And it seems ridiculous, but the question they then ask is challenging. How can we know we are not in a simulation? So what the Matrix tries to do is come to the truth. And also that, and that makes maybe the latest movie relevant, that the truth is not something that bends to our will or emotions. Hence the ones in Plato's cave are mistaken according to Plato. But is there a truth? And can we come to know it? And the fact that these prisoners do not want to leave the cave is here turned into a joke by the comic Existential Comics, where you see Plato or Socrates return to the cave, now armed with a motorcycle and a gun, saying, "You are free, you're all free to know the truth, but we don't want to go. Get up and go up and go learn the truth, or I will blow your goddamn head off." The question that underlies this is an ethical one.